Hi, I'm Wayne and this is Bastard Woodworking. I turned a treadmill into a giant belt sander. When you wipe your eye and you end up just wiping more sawdust into it. Your first question is probably why. Like, why would you do this? Is it even a good idea? And I'm not sure if it's a good idea. It's not my idea. I'm far from the first person to do this. But from the videos I've seen online and stuff like that, most people do this kind of as a joke and don't ever really expect it to be used as a sander. But every time I've seen that video, I've thought, like, this is actually a pretty useful idea. And I wonder, like, how much use I would actually get out of something like this. The main thing I immediately see as being a good use for something like this is sanding large panels at the same time, like all at once, so that you end up with a flat piece. I don't have a drum sander. I only have like one of those lunchbox planers. So having a large sanding surface is going to be a game changer for me. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of it. I've already done the build and everything, so this is going to be a build video, but I'll kind of deconstruct as much as I can to kind of give you an idea of what my thought process was in building this and how I anticipate I'll be using it. First things first, controls for the sander are exactly the same as the controls for the treadmill. Right down to it has the safety switch that I can pull to deactivate it. I thought that that was important on a tool that I built myself to have a way to quickly turn it off. But the speed control, the start and stop, all exactly the same as they were. I did not deactivate any functionality of the treadmill itself. I even still have the power incline. More on that later. But I just have a table set up 90 degrees to the belt, and I basically just one-for-one swapped the treadmill running belt with a sanding belt that I custom ordered. I did make the sanding belt about 2 inches wider than the running belt so that it would cover more of the platen. And I also had to reverse the motor of the treadmill, and that was super easy. It was just swapping the hot leads to the other poles, and it just worked. So I was incredibly fortunate in that. And it's been working really well. I mean, it runs no issues. Speed adjustment is slow because speed adjustment on a treadmill is slow, but it's also not all that loud. I still have to figure out something to cover the back so that it's not dangerous from the back of it, but I have it lined right up against my workbench, and that's on purpose because when I'm sanding large panels like a guitar body or something like that, I want to be able to just take this bar out, which locks it in a 90-degree position, and then I can lay the whole table down, and I have just basically a sanding table that I can hold things against. In the future, and this is going back to the power incline, I'm going to alter this table so that I can use the power incline to basically make it a reverse drum sander, where the sanding block will move up and down instead of the table, and it will then pass through for thicknessing through like the tabletop. I'll convert it in some way. And I think that would then give me a very large drum sander. And I think it'd be cool. But it just lays out on the bench, and it's great. It being a really cheap treadmill too, it's not all that heavy, and it locks back in place, and it's good to go. I've used it on a couple small projects, nothing major yet. I haven't used it for its like intended use. It's been more just trying to like, does it work? And so far, yes. The next question you might be asking yourself is this expensive? Like, is it worth the cost to get the treadmill, all that stuff? Or is it comparable to what a sander of the same size or drum sander or something like that would be? And yes, it's very, very cheap. You can find treadmills for free on Facebook Marketplace any day of the week, and most of the time they're all perfectly functioning. It's just person doesn't want a treadmill in their house anymore. They're pretty large, as you can see. It's taken up a lot of my shop. But they're usually free. They're usually working, And they're also, for their size, they have a pretty powerful little motor. This has a 3/4 horsepower motor in it, and it's meant to be run on, so it's not going to get bogged down by, sanding stuff. The rest of the table and everything was just scrap wood I had in the shop, so it's all plywood cutoffs and a piece of particle board on the top. And then just the rod that I used to hold it up is literally just a spare piece of 5/8 rod that I had. It could also just be a piece of plywood. All in, this cost me $60 for the belt, and that was it. The belts you have to custom order. I'll put the website in the description that I used to custom order the belt. I'm not going to put the belt size because it's different for every treadmill, or different for a lot of treadmills. So I'll put the website that I used, and I'll put the type of belts. I have this one, and I bought a spare one because I wasn't sure if this was just going to get ripped apart the moment I started. So, but the belts are also pretty affordable. Like $60 for this gigantic belt is a very good price. And I'm very happy with it and excited to see what I'm going to get to do with this thing. I do completely realize that it takes up a lot of space. But this is only like one day of thinking, oh, well, where could this go? I'm sure I could think of a much more neat and out-of-the-way place to store this. But it's right now, it's the new thing in the shop, so it's kind of like the centerpiece of everything. I'm sure I'll get sick of it sitting here and I'll move it somewhere more out of the way. It is pretty heavy, so it's not the most portable thing, so I might have to build a cart to roll it around on, and probably just make it so it's the same height as all the other benches in here, so that when I do want to lay it down, I just need to bridge the gap between it and another work surface on. I don't have this set up for like heavy material removal. I have it with just a 120 grit belt on it. I was thinking of getting a more like 80 to 60 grit for like just mass removal of material, but 120 grit seems to be kind of a happy medium. I can still, if I need to level off something, 120 grit will do it, and it won't leave me with a surface that it just needs more attention, more or less. So I think 120 grit is the happy medium for a sanding belt of this size. This entire project took about half a day to get to this point. It was very quick to tear down the entire upper frame and stuff. I then used an oscillating tool to just cut out the control box and just mount that to the front of the treadmill itself. I cut off the metal arms and everything like that, all the metal tubing, got rid of most of that because it just took up space and it didn't do anything for me. And overall, this thing is a little champ. I'm very happy with it. I'm going to continue to tweak it and stuff over the next few months, and once I get it exactly doing what I want it to do, I might do a follow-up video on changes I made to it and stuff. But this is a really cool thing to have in my shop, and I can't wait to start using it on some larger projects. But thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date with new projects as they are released. And until next time, thank you.